Hello. No doubt you will have come across a saying about being in a state of gratitude. But I feel it's one of these things that is often has become more of a cliche saying and has never been fully explained as to what it really means. And the easiest way to do that, I feel, is to actually look at the word gratitude. What does it consist of? Well, it's 9 characters or 9 letters. So that in itself should tell you something if you know anything about the number 9 and what it represents. If you'd like me to explain that, I can go into that. But suffice to say, gratitude, what's right in the middle of it? What is the center of that word, gratitude? It is I. The character I. So on one side of it you have grat, and on the other side you have tude. So being in a state of gratitude, it's something that you have to varying degrees inside yourself, expressed symbolically as the astrological sign Libra. If you look at the depiction, it is a woman. So therefore it is suggesting the divine feminine side of you. And you'll notice she is blindfolded and she has a set of scales and she is weighing things up. It is what we are required to do, weigh things up inside oneself, not by what you see with the physical eyes, but what you feel. So gratitude. So the first part, and we have to take into account such things as the vowel shift with the English language, the angel leash language. There's a reason why English is promoted so heavily around the world. As I've said before, it is a spellcaster, but it has an Achilles heel because it does reveal things. So the grat is the great. What is it that grates on you? All those negative things, those concerns and those worries. This is where we step into the role of Libra. And the tude, the closest I can find to that, if we take the I with it, it's etude, which is, because of the vowel shift, comes from a French word, etude, which means study. So you're studying and finding the balance. What is it that grates on you? Is it external things like, how am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to get ends meet at the end of the week, where there is a constant flow of supply and demand, as it were. So grocery shopping would be one example, utility bills and such like. And if you look externally at the world, you may import certain worries and concerns, and you will feel things from these, usually very negative. So it's finding the balance. So I'm going to use as an illustration, you may be living in a large city. Maybe where you live has a garden. So there is gratitude if you have that. Yes, you may be living in a city, but you do have a little escape into nature if you have a garden. It's about weighing things up, because if you focus purely on the negatives, where the attention goes, the energy flows. You will draw towards yourself more negativity. So if you do find that you are currently living in a city and wishing to be out in the countryside, well, for a start, there's an open invitation to sample off-grid living here in the Algarve. which I've said before, but not many have taken this up, which I find surprising. But it does obviously require overcoming doubts and fears and just trying it for yourself. How are you going to know unless you go through the experience? But take the things that grate on your mind, acknowledge them, but don't dwell upon them and focus entirely on them. Weigh them up with the positives. So yes, you may be living in an environment that is not perhaps the most conducive for you, but consider if you live in a city, there are far more things open to you in the external. You have a greater chance potentially of meeting those on the same wavelength. It is going to be balanced, of course, with a lot of things that you will see as more negative. You will come across far more people that are not on the same wavelength. But there is a greater chance of finding, say if it's London, you've got the museums which are free to go into. You have various avenues that you wouldn't have in a rural location. I can use London as an example here. If I was living in London, I would be making the effort to go to the Barbican and going to the free lunchtime concerts because music is uplifting. So always weigh up and recognize the negatives, but then say, well, here's the negatives. What are the positives that I've got? So, for example, it's not bright sunshine here today as I record this. It's cloud, but with it has come some welcome cooler weather and even a little drop of rain. So I have gratitude in the positive or the balanced sense, because I acknowledge the negatives, because it can affect the solar and the charging of devices and things, but it's balanced with, it is less strain on the plants. I don't have to give quite so much water as if I would have to do on a day of that really intense hot weather, which is forecast to in about a week's time. So you've got this ebb and flow. So it's with gratitude, it is about finding the balance, which there is the study. It's an internal study. Finding what grates upon you and also finding what that you are to be or can find to be grateful for. There's in a realm which is continuously showing contrasts. Just ask yourself, this is the intuition. You ask yourself, okay, I've got these things that I see as negative. So therefore there must be a counterpart, and I can find things that are positive. But if your focus is entirely on the negative, you will not see the positives that you have in your life. So that, I feel, is the easiest way to sum up what gratitude is. So I thought I would just share that and offer an explanation and a perception that is revealed to me just by looking at the word and drawing upon knowledge from experience of different things. The word etude I know from the Chopin piano studies, his 12 etudes, opus 12 and opus 25. The numbers in that, again, there's no coincidence. Opus 25, well, 2 and 5 makes 7, it's a divine number. The word gratitude consists of 9 letters or characters that make up that word. It is said there are signs given to you by night. Well, that is pretty black and white with astrology, but of course it is worth considering the astrology that you're listening to or that you're using. I will talk about that in a forthcoming video. But there are there's said to be billions and billions of stars, but you will get an equal number of signs given to you by the day. It's whether we can see them. I will come on to that on the next video as well, where I'm going to look at the design of the motor car and what that reveals to us, potentially. If you have the eyes to see it, the perception, the ability to weigh up what is being presented to you in the external, and then internalizing it. And then out of that, you can find the balance, and you can be in a state of gratitude, even though things may appear to be negative. But a lot of these negative things are just illusions, and they are just feelings we have imported from the external. I will use myself here as a case in point, as it were. This environment that I am in, I could look at various stories in the external. One thing that always comes through with those is, how do they really affect my daily life? Because everything is always somewhere over there, and I can't go and verify it for myself. I can't go and see what is real and what is just a story that is trying to emit a negative feeling inside myself. And to hold those negative feelings is a perfect example of how things can become manifest from our thoughts. Because if you hold those negative feelings, you create an environment in your physical body which can result and manifest as all kind of dis-eases. Because if you are totally in the negative perception of things, you are not in a place or a state of ease. So that is how I would give a brief summary of what being in a state of gratitude is really about. So I hope that has helped uplift and inspire you and given you a new perception and potentially a way of now re-evaluating, reassessing by asking yourself the questions about your immediate circumstances. If you can find 10 things that you perceive or feel as negative, then weigh up and consider 10 things that are actually positive in your life. Primarily, I would say, is that you have a recognition that you are alive, you are going through an experience, you are in a physical body to have an experience. This is your first positive that I'm going to suggest to you. The rest is up to you. I'm not doing it all for you. It is an internal journey we all have to do for ourselves. But if you do need further confirmation, then I invite you to contact me direct. You'll find details in the description. I'm quite happy to give you a One-to-Juan Tarot reading. So you can have a different sort of perspective given to you that will show you where you're at, and it may flip the polarity and take you out of that negative state and bring you more into balance inside yourself. It is about recognition. It's so easy to recognize the negatives. It's not so easy to recognize always the positives, because there is a continuous bombardment of negative stories being sort of screened towards us all the time. It's up to you where you set the boundaries of what you will import and what you will reject. It's down to each and every one of you to find that balance inside yourself. So with that, I'm going to say unconditional love to you all until the next video.